Well, thanks for logging on. Meteorologist Brandon Lashbrook here for your tropical update for this Wednesday evening. You still have Hurricane Beryl churning out in the Caribbean, now bringing impact currently as of 4:30 this Wednesday evening right now to Jamaica. Take a look at current satellite. You can see almost the past couple hours or so, this hurricane trying to reform its eye and eye wall. That northern eye wall now impacting portions of southern Jamaica near the communities of Mandeville, just to the east or west rather of Kingston, and near Bull Savannah. Current stats on this hurricane has 140 mile-per-hour winds max sustained as of the 4 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, and pressure now at about 959 millibars. Now, pressure has increased over the past day or so. It was in the 930s when it maxed out as a Category 5 late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, but pressure has risen as there has been some weakening, but it kind of seems like Beryl doesn't want to weaken as it continues to move westward in the Caribbean, as it's bringing impacts right now to Jamaica, and again trying to possibly reform an eye wall. But it is battling some dry air and some shear as well. The hurricane hunters have been flying into the storm almost nonstop. They have been in there earlier this morning, this afternoon. That flight has ended, but there is another flight en route to the storm as of right now to collect more information that, of course, will be given out later on this evening through later updates from the Hurricane Center. So, where we have the winds right now, we have Cat 1, or at least Cat 1 hurricane strength winds now affecting the southern portion of Jamaica. Tropical storm force winds extending all the way almost up to Cuba even. You see that yellow color. And at least 57 mile-per-hour winds in that orange color there is impacting pretty much all of the island of Jamaica right now. Now let's talk about the current track. Again, this is as of the 4 p.m. advisory. The current track does bring some weakening to Beryl, bringing it to a Category 3, maybe Category 2 by the time it reaches the Yucatan Peninsula, possibly near or just south to Cancun. Now, beyond that, it will be moving into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, likely as a weaker storm as it battles a little bit more wind shear, and of course the Yucatan Peninsula's landmass, so it won't be over open water at that point. Moving into the southwest Gulf of Mexico, likely maybe as a tropical storm, maybe a strong tropical storm. And then beyond that, the forecast track is a little bit more uncertain, although some of the guidance has come a little bit better consensus on the exact track, but we may possibly see some more strengthening, a possibility with some still rather warm Gulf of Mexico waters there. Maybe see another Category 1 strength possible by the time it reaches the western Gulf of Mexico, as it makes possibly yet again another landfall. So we'll dive into all that in a second. Here's the past 24 hours water vapor loop of Hurricane Beryl. You can see that distinct eye as it was passing just to the south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It lost that eye as it begins to encounter more wind shear and all that red in the front and behind that. All that is just dry air. Earlier you see how it was that more of a stronger compact system. It was kind of an envelope of rather moist saturated air, kind of shielding itself from that dry air, but the more westward it moved, it had more of that wind shear, therefore it took a little bit of a hit and allowed that dry air to a little bit affect the system, although it's still a pretty fierce hurricane right now, again Category 4, impacting portions of Jamaica. Now kind of layer on top of the Saharan dust, you kind of see the dust is in front and behind the system as it's moving westward, and the system Beryl is moving off to the west, and again may kind of move into that more dusty air, that more dry air, and that may bring some more of that weakening as well, as noted on the official track intensities, and possibly even hitting some more wind shear too. So kind of look at the wind shear right now. It's moving to the west, still battling that westerly wind shear. It's kind of helping to shear that system, weaken it as it moves toward the Yucatan Peninsula, and then conditions may be a little more favorable as we get to the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. This is why there's that possible re-intensification to a Category 1 by the time it gets to the western Gulf Coast. So the main setup right now is we get to about Thursday, later this week, we have high pressure over the southern U.S. Again, that is that clockwise flow, and it's pretty strong right now. That's why we have some pretty hot temperatures in the southern U.S. Now, Beryl will likely be, of course, heading toward the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, the exact track is going really to depend on how strong that high is and the position of that high, and how strong or weak the system Beryl is as it moves over land. So a little bit more of a stronger system might impact the more northern portion of Cancun and the Yucatan Peninsula, while a more weaker system might be moving a little bit more to the south and southwest in the far southwest Gulf of Mexico. So we'll be watching to see how Beryl kind of maintains itself into the Western Caribbean and possibly how strong it is as it moves toward the Yucatan Peninsula. So let's take you through a couple of scenarios, a lot going on this graphic, kind of break it down for you. Over the U.S., we'll have high pressure over the western U.S., so California, the Four Corners region. In the middle will be some upper level troughing, some weakness in the atmosphere in the upper levels, and then the high pressure ridge over the southern U.S. Now, as Beryl begins to move to the west toward the Yucatan Peninsula, it will be steered by the high pressure system. Now, a weaker and a slower Beryl will likely mean a little bit more of a southern track, maybe toward portions of the coastal Mexico right there, as you see by Sunday by that point. Now, scenario 2 is if the high pressure system is a little bit more to the east, a little bit weaker, that allows that trough in the middle to be a little bit stronger down to the south. And if Beryl is moving faster and a little bit more stronger, then it may take that more of a northerly track. So areas like southern Texas, Corpus Christi, down toward Brownsville, may be under the gun for a landfall possible and some impacts. So those are the kind of two scenarios we'll be watching closely. Of course, we'll get a lot more information once we have the storm actually in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, other than that, impacts in the western Gulf of Mexico, you'll see the wave heights will really begin to increase for most, if not all, of the Gulf of Mexico. As you see the highest waves, of course, where that center of that storm will likely be. But even in the northern Gulf of Mexico, say Mobile, Alabama region, the Panhandle of Florida, will likely be seeing some rough surf for the waters there and some possible rip currents too. So this does bring it into 4th of July weekend, this Saturday, this Sunday. People come down to the beaches to enjoy a nice weekend on the beach, but just keep in mind, we may have some rough surf out there, and of course that risk for rip currents, which can be deadly, so we want to make sure you do keep an eye on the forecast there, and of course look at all beach flags before you get into the water. So we're still about 4 or 5 days away from any potential impacts to the U.S. That would include maybe southern Texas or coastal Mexico there. So again, we're in that day 4 to 5 range right here on this graphic, where right now we're looking at possible scenarios, trying to identify outcomes, where the track may go. We're still pretty far away from specifying particular impacts like surge or particular wind speeds at landfall. So right now we're still monitoring this system, trying to make sure you do stay up to date with all the forecasts too as we go through this week, heading toward this weekend too. So just keep it mindful, and of course we'll make sure you have your hurricane plan already in place to go just in case you'll need it. And so also behind that system we have Invest 96L, another area of some disturbed showers and storms, still pretty disorganized. Chances for development really have dropped over the past couple days. If something does develop, it will be moving westward, kind of following Beryl's footsteps or so, but looking at some of the spaghetti models, kind of does bring it westward, but there is some pretty good divergence in those solutions. Some bring it up toward Cuba, some bring it down to Central America. So as of right now, nothing to worry about with this system, because it's going to bring some kind of nasty weather for portions of those lesser into the islands as it moves westward there. But again, nothing to worry about for the U.S. Just keep an eye on this for sure. We'll keep a track on it too. But kind of going back toward Hurricane Beryl, and kind of show you the track one more time, heading toward the Yucatan Peninsula, that possible Category 2 status as it kind of begins to lose strength a touch and then move into the southwest Gulf of Mexico, possibly bringing those impacts to coastal Mexico, possibly southern Texas as well. So places like Corpus Christi, maybe San Antonio, down toward Brownsville by maybe later Sunday into Monday. So still again that day 4 to 5 range. So keep an eye on the forecast for sure. There is some uncertainty on the exact track, but of course we'll keep you updated on all things tropics as we go through this season and we go through this week. And so we want to make sure you do stay up to date on that as well. Of course, we will keep you up to date on air and online too at brproud.com.